House impeachment managers called on Trump himself to testify under oath before or during those proceedings. And just a short time ago, an official response from Trump's lawyers. They're calling the demand a PR stunt, adding the use of our Constitution to bring a purported impeachment proceeding is much too serious to try to play these games. Joining us now, MSNBC legal analyst Andrew Weissman, former general counsel for the FBI. Andrew Weissman, I think it has more to do with this other headline that I found today, that the last time he testified, this was in the Washington Post, they caught him lying 30 times. And I know that the reason that Donald Trump was never permitted to testify or answer questions in person from Robert Mueller was because a lot of people around him knew he couldn't do it without lying his rear end off. So I think the PR stunt isn't, I mean, I don't know, it seemed like an opportunity for Donald Trump if he wanted to go in there and try to defend himself, but it's not one that he can take advantage of because he can't not lie.
Well, the most important thing to note, of course, is happy birthday, Nicole. But on this, to answer your question, it's important to remember, even in the first impeachment trial, the president never under oath or even in writing said that there was no quid pro quo with respect to the Ukraine call. He said that to the American public, but he would not say that under oath. He would not say it in an affidavit. Even the written submissions from his counsel did not say that. Why? Because it is a crime to lie to the United States Senate. So I totally agree with you. To put this in perspective, his defense counsel is going to do the same thing that happened during the Mueller investigation and during the first impeachment trial, which is keep him off the stand. Now, the Democratic managers have only gone so far because they have sent a letter saying that we're inviting you to testify, but they haven't issued a subpoena. And so one thing that I think they are wrong is they absolutely have the right to subpoena him. This is not a criminal trial. He doesn't go to jail at the end of this. All that would happen is they would say, you can't run for office again. So they have a right to call him in the way that you wouldn't be able to call a defendant who has been criminally charged. But the way you do that is you don't send a letter that just says, we're inviting you. You actually have to issue a subpoena, and then Donald Trump would have to make a decision about whether he's going to comply with that subpoena and be in contempt if he doesn't, or he would take the Fifth Amendment and assert the Fifth Amendment. And I think he would have a valid Fifth Amendment. But then the Democrats get to say, we're going to draw an adverse inference because you didn't show up. But I think what's wrong in the letter that the Democrats sent is this invitation where they say, if you don't accept the invitation, we get to draw an adverse inference. I don't think that is correct. I don't think since it's a voluntary invitation, it's something that the former president can agree to or not agree to. Yes, logically, you think, why not show up if you have nothing to hide? But legally, I don't think there's an adverse inference that would be something that anybody should be applying, whether Democrat or Republican in the Senate.
So you're fleshing out the legal strategy behind all this. Let me just ask you one more question about that, and then I want to ask you about the optics, because that seemed to me, when I read the letter, just in my background in PR, I thought that Congressman Raskin was playing on Trump's insatiable desire to be the story, and that if the letter made it to Trump before the lawyers got a hold of it and responded, he would be, Jack Nicholson up there. Damn right I called the code red. I wanted Pence to be scared. I mean, I thought it would be an irresistible invitation to Donald Trump, and I thought it was a smart strategy. But you're showing us where the holes are in the legal strategy, so let me just follow up there. Do prosecutors ever start with an invitation and then follow up with a subpoena, or is it one shot?
Oh, absolutely. They can start with an invitation. Here's a letter. We're asking you nicely, and you're saying no. Absolutely. The next step is you could see a subpoena being issued saying, no, we really, really want you. I think it is a smart strategy to call the president. because the Republicans are going to want to say, well, the president didn't incite the riot. That was not his intent. The president doesn't believe that there was election fraud, or that's not what this case is about. Well, you know, if you want to hear from the person who you're talking about, call him and ask him the question, which is, you know, in terms of inciting to riot, the questions I would ask the president is, well, if you didn't intend there to be a riot, then why, when you saw it on TV, did you not immediately call in the National Guard? Did you not immediately, go on the television and say, please stop, I'm calling on every one of my supporters to not use violence and to leave the Capitol? So those are really hard questions for Donald Trump to have to answer. On an election fraud, it may be even harder because there's so many people that he pressured to try and open bogus election fraud cases. And so you'd want to ask the president, tell me and the American public right now, what is all of your concrete evidence of election fraud? Because no judge who the Republicans went to found any fraud whatsoever, whether they were Republican-appointed judges or Democratic-appointed judges. So there was no evidence of that. So I think the idea of calling Donald Trump, it makes a lot of sense, but I don't think a letter is going to do the trick.
You know, and just this idea of posing questions to Donald Trump in a setting where lying to Congress is a crime, I would ask him first and foremost, who won the 2020 election? He knows he didn't win. And absolutely. I think if you could sort of get him on the record, cleaning up the lie, you might actually, that might be one thing that you could do to sort of reduce the risk and reduce the danger that people face because of that big lie. I mean, what does he say if he's asked who won the 2020 election?
The reason that's such a perfect question, Nicole, is that either way, it's useful. If he actually then admits that Joe Biden won the election, that's useful for the country to know and for us to move on and for facts to actually matter. And if he denies it, it really makes it hard for the Republicans who want to defend him, because the last thing that the Republicans want is a vote on was there election fraud, because, in the Senate, those people know there was no material election fraud, and they don't want to have to vote on that issue. Lindsey Graham has said as much, that they're trying to find every other opportunity to vote on anything but that. But if you put Donald Trump on the stand, you can really force them to confront the facts.
Andrew Weissman, I hope you have cleared your schedule to talk us through another impeachment trial of Donald J. Trump. Thank you for spending some time with us today. Switching back to the House floor, happening right now, emotional appeals from Democrats pleading with their emotional colleagues